The moments in the mirror in this piece are very personal moments, and we get this glimpse into. Um, it seems like these are moments where she's at her most vulnerable state. And it does feel like she spends the majority of this piece in a state of sadness. You know, religion, prayers, saints are very prevalent, a clear through line in this. And maybe it leads to this whole self degrading factor where she doesn't feel right being who she is or how she presents, and is likely trying to change because of this feeling of obligation, whether that is to family, whether that is to religion. Um, but the moments I thought that were really stood out to me in this piece are, you know, these private moments. Private moments was is such a prevalent thing throughout, where I feel like I was getting several glimpses into moments that I'm not supposed to see. So it almost made this whole private moment public on several different occasions, with the opening, with the mirror, you know, her being nude, the masturbation, even all of these are moments where it just felt like, okay, I'm getting glimpses into an aspect of someone's life that is usually secret. And that was actually very made this piece really unique.
This was very intense. It was one from right from the beginning where the priest, was telling her to fast for 9 days. I'm a pretty spiritual person, and the idea of 9 days, first thought was, can the human body even sustain that? Just on water for 9 days? But I know that's not the important part of this film. It was definitely a struggle, a trial, because she's alone. And by the end, you feel like she feels like she's still alone. Where she's crushing her statue of St. Jude and everything, where she feels still lost and lonely, which means it's still a struggle. Faith always is. You're expecting an easy answer, and unfortunately, God doesn't give easy answers usually. The answer is usually something that we have to work for, which is a hard lesson for all of us, but it's one of those things where you feel for this character. She's a very deep, intense character. You can tell all of her struggles right from the beginning, the surface, and she is trying. It's just something where she's going to continue to feel alone until maybe she meets with other people, other things like this. This was a great film, a lot of it in silence, where it shows the actress, it gives the actress the ability to really explore the character so her emotions come through on the screen clearly.
From the beginning, I kind of loved the close-up shots, and thought it kind of painted this idea of being very vulnerable, especially since it starts in the shower, which is somewhere you're extremely vulnerable, supposed to be by yourself, and you're naked and just like at your most bare. So I thought that was really cool. I also really loved the absence of music. I feel like that helped to feel um, like it's telling a very raw and barren story, very authentic, very, again, using the word vulnerable. I think that with the lack of music helped to do that in the best way. I really like the framing of the shots. I thought the cinematography was great. I feel like it's very aesthetically pleasing to watch. I thought that was really cool. And I kind of like this overall interesting idea of her wanting to cleanse herself of prostitution, just kind of using religion as her way to relieve herself, relieve herself of what she believes are her sins. So I thought that was really interesting. Going back to cinematography, I really like the framing of the prayer scene. I thought that was absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful. And I kind of like how it felt very personal to this woman. She's asking God for bravery. I love the voiceovers with the imagery while she's praying, just to kind of like see, the homemade altar and whatnot. I thought that was very beautiful. It was really cool. And just kind of like seeing her process and being with her through each day was very interesting, and seeing how she's processing everything that's happening to her um, throughout her connection and her in her cleanse. So I thought that was really, really good. Ending it with her destroying the altar, I thought was really beautiful, as a way to show it's not that easy. It's easy to get frustrated. It's easy. You're expecting the healing process to be one thing and it's another, and it's not happening the way that you want it to. And just feeling that frustration and then leaving her in the darkness, I feel like is very powerful, because, she still has a long way to go. I don't think she knows where she's going from there, but it's definitely going to be a journey. And I think it's really beautiful to see that.
This was a really sad story to me. I really felt like this person was struggling a lot with who they were, becoming, and who they were feeling strongly about becoming. And it still felt like they were struggling with that. And also just being accepted not only by God, well, mostly by God, I felt like, or whoever they believe in, their religion, by praying a lot, having a friend over or a religious figure over to pray with them, and just really fasting and doing all these things to sort of, it was another meaning here, but I really felt like they were just struggling with accepting themselves and not having a good, maybe it was partly they were transitioning. I just felt like it was a struggle mentally and emotionally about their identity, and that they were very lonely and trying to do everything they could to just come to peace and to terms with who they were. That's how I felt. And the tone of the film was very, somber, I thought, and desperate and sad. So very well acted, and was very interesting.
Really, really, really intense film. There were a lot of things that I really liked about it. The fact that, you had your opening where you kind of are getting a sense for who she is or who she was, her kind of history, her friends, like the people that recognize her, things like that. You're starting to kind of get a picture of her. And then you enter this like week long in the apartment, going through different phases, doing a very intense fasting, doing a very, very intense just thing for this full week where, there's nothing else is going on. It's just her and her reflection, her and her relationship with faith, and her, prayers for what she wants out of life. But at the same time, you also have this extreme of like, this is a very extreme thing to go through. They did really amazing things where like they left the silences in, which I think just kind of amplified everything as you're actually watching the film. There's a lot of kind of dead sound time, especially as you're getting into the fasting, like the week long event as well. There's just a lot of time where like there's not any dialogue going on. It's just her, and she has her prayers and she has her moments, but for the most part, like, you're just witnessing this kind of dead space, which I think is so, so fantastic.
I really like the main character, the struggles of the main character, and the difficulties they have to live their life, and also to accept themselves at some point, I think, especially when talking to God and asking for God's help. I think there is a great relationship here between the main character and religion. I think it's also very powerful to mix religion with a queer character. There's always some kind of stigma around religion when it's about being part of the LGBTQ plus community. But I think here the movie really manages to tell us that doesn't really matter who you are. If you believe, God is always with you.